Hi everyone, this is Frank DiMora with the Last Chronicles of Planet Earth. If this is the first time that you discovered my YouTube channel, please go to my website www.bibleprophecyman.com, and once you're there, you'd be able to download my Bible prophecy documentary for free. Once you see the picture, the front and the back covers, right below it'll be a link. You click to the link and it'll take you to 325 pages of documents, proof, and evidence that we are definitely in the last days and Jesus Christ is coming back. And it is really important to know the scriptures, because the Lord told us many times. He repeated himself to be on the watch, to look, be on guard. And so this ministry is based around to try to help you to be on guard. You may not know the things that we're looking at in the news are connecting with the Bible, and this is what my ministry is all about. So today I would like to share a little bit about Zechariah 12:3. And Zechariah in the Old Testament tells us that in the last days Jerusalem was going to be a burdensome stone for all the nations. And we're told in Zechariah chapter 12 that all the nations in the last days will be coming against Israel and the Jews and Jerusalem. And also Paul the apostle writes us, and he tells us that in the last days you're going to hear from the Middle East the call for peace and safety. Now we know that this has been going on for a long time, so that part of the prophecy is already fulfilled. The second part of the prophecy that Paul gave to us in 1 Thessalonians 5:3 hasn't been fulfilled yet, and that is the sudden destruction will come. Now, in part that it has, because Israel has already had many wars while they were talking peace and safety, and they were attacked. So if you want to say that the destruction came, yes, that would be true, but the destruction that I'm talking about would be the destruction that we're still going to see from Psalm 83, that war that hasn't been fulfilled yet, and also from Ezekiel chapter 38, that war hasn't been fulfilled either. But I had one of my viewers wrote me, his name is Dave Shadow, and he wrote me something I totally agree with, and I'm going to quote what he said. As the entire world steps into chaos because of this, and he was talking about all the Arab nations and the turmoil that's going on in the Middle East, and this is what he's talking about, all of these things. Says the world is going to have to point the blame somewhere. With Yemen now pointing their finger at Israel, I feel that the rest of the Arab region and the rest of the world will look at Israel as a burdensome stone, the catalyst that started it all. Now I totally agree with that, and what I'm doing is connecting what the prophet told us about the last days and how the burdensome stone would be on Israel, and it does say Jerusalem, and right now Jerusalem is a burdensome stone for the whole entire world. And this is how, is because the peace process is failing, and one of the two major problems with the peace process going forward is ownership of East Jerusalem. And the ownership of East Jerusalem has been a burden for all the world, including, yes, the United States, because the United States is trying to give East Jerusalem back over to the Palestinians so that they can not only have their own state, but they can have East Jerusalem as their capital. And the Arab world, and I believe that this is just the beginning of what we're going to see. And once it settles down in the Middle East and the new leaders are installed, and I believe that most of those leaders will be Islamic leaders, that they're going to manipulate the problems and put it on Israel. It'll be a blanket, a covering from all these different Arab nations who will come against Israel, saying, look, we took all these other leaders out of the way, and now we got to handle Israel because Israel is suppressing the Palestinians. And I believe that you should be watching for this, because I really believe it's going to take place, because Jerusalem will be that burdensome stone, and that's the direction that it's headed. Now, as far as already we are seeing nations do this. For example, last week I put up some information about Egypt. In Egypt, they got together and they were saying that they were going to get rid of the peace process, and they were calling for martyrs, millions of martyrs against Israel. So we're seeing the verbiage turn away from what was happening, for example, with Mubarak in Egypt, and now heading towards Israel. The headline reads, Yemen president blames Israel's for the Arab world unrest. It says, Shilhai says there is an operations room in Tel Aviv with an aim of destabilizing the Arab world, and it is being run by the White House. And they quoted their Yemen president this on Tuesday, and I'm going to quote the rest. It says, Tuesday, Israel and the United States of formulating anti-regime revolts throughout the Arab world and attempting to destabilize his country. This is what the President Abdullah Shila said. So, like I'm saying, watch for the verbiage, what they're saying. It's going towards Israel. Then it goes on to say, there is an operations room in Tel Aviv with the aim of destabilizing the Arab world, Sheila said, as he gave a speech in Shenana University. He explained that the operations room is run by the White House. So, doesn't matter whether it's true or not. What the focus here is Israel. Israel is the problem. This is what they're leaning towards. And, we know that this is going to be the bottom line at the end of the day, because the prophet told us, watch the burdensome stone of Israel, and everybody will come against it. And believe me, this world is definitely on the road to fulfill that prophecy. Now, when you scroll down, if you come to my website, please scroll down. You're going to see an article about the pressure, the world pressure on Israel. And Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli prime minister, mentioned that today in the news. It says this: Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said on Monday that Israel could not ignore the growing international pressure over construction in the West Bank, but said that the government would pursue ongoing settlement activity to the best of its ability. We are currently making efforts to maintain the existing construction, but we must understand that we are faced with a very difficult international reality, Netanyahu told the ministers from the Ludwig faction. Goes on to say, Netanyahu was speaking 1 week after the United States vetoed a United Nations resolution condemning Israel's settlements in the West Bank, and 4 days before the Middle East Quartet officials were to meet Israel and the Palestinian representatives in an effort to jumpstart the peace process. Remember I said the peace process is relatively dead, and they're trying to get it established again. And this is important because Paul told us why they're calling peace and safety. That's when the destruction's coming. So put together 2 to 2 what's happening in the Middle East and those countries coming together, and you know that they're gonna it's a one steady massive stream that it's been really wide. Now it's coming narrow, and that stream is going to lead right down to Israel and their problems, and blame everybody, all the problems from the Arabs because of what's happening in Israel and the Palestinians. Goes on to say, meanwhile, the Forum of the Israeli 7 senior ministers will meet this Tuesday to reach a decision on whether to send Netanyahu advisors and a peace talks representative, Yexter Molocho, I believe that's pronounced, excuse me if I pronounced it wrong, but to the Quartet Conference. So they're debating whether to send one of their own to the peace talks. Netanyahu has voiced his reservations to the meeting, fearing that by agreeing, he would open the door to international influence on the terms of the renewed talks. Specifically, the premier is worried of being forced to resume talks toward the Palestinian state based on the 1967 borders. This becomes an issue And it's very important that you got to home in when they're talking about these 67 borders, because what Benjamin Netanyahu is worried about is that this pressure from the world is going to try to establish this new state by the 67 borders, which would mean, if that was the case, Israel would have to give up East Jerusalem. Now, that would mean that Israel would have to give up the Temple Mount. And the Temple Mount is the Jewish most holy site for Israel. So you're seeing conflicts that are going to be coming over East Jerusalem, the burdensome stone. So this is what you should be looking for in the near future, because you're going to see this a lot in the news. And I don't think we're going to have to wait all that long to see this take place. Now, why they're talking peace and safety, or when they're trying to get back for peace and safety, there's conflicts that are going on the border between the Palestinians and those that hate Israel. And there was another case of this today, and I'm telling you, one of these conflicts are going to cause a war, a major war. It's coming. It's just a matter of timing. And here's an article, I'm going to quote it. It says, an RPG was fired at the IDF vehicle traveling eastwards to the city of Khan Yunis in Gaza Tuesday afternoon. Soldiers returned fire, and the Palestinians claim one person was injured from artillery fire in the area. Eyewitnesses said the RPG hit the armor vehicle and set it on fire. The IDF, which is the Israeli Defense Force, confirmed an attack on soldiers patrolling the border, but said the incidents did not result in any injuries or damage, according to the Palestinians. IDF forces opened fire on a terror cell behind the RPG attack. Now, if you don't know what an RPG is, it's a rocket-repelled grenades. And what's happening, the Palestinians are firing these grenades, and they've been firing rockets periodically into the Israeli territory, trying to kill the Israelis. And it's almost impossible to have any kind of reliable peace talks when the people that are saying they want to talk peace are sending in missiles, and they're sending in rockets and RPGs to try to kill you. So keep the words of what Paul said. When they're talking peace and safety, sudden destruction will come, and they are not going to escape. This, we're seeing it. I mean, it's almost here. And then finally, Jeremiah 31:23. There's a prophecy that talks about in the last days the Jewish people will again speak their Jewish language, or the Hebrew language that was lost when they were dispersed. And with the new technology, Daniel told us our generation is going to be increased in knowledge. So, and that came from Daniel 12:4. So when you put both of those together, you'll see that the Jewish language, the Hebrew language, is returned already. And in my book, I show you how that happened. But just to show you, to pull in what Daniel said about the increased knowledge and put in the rebirth of this Hebrew language in the last days, you'll see that now technology is going forth so that people around the world can begin to learn the Hebrew language that Jeremiah the prophet told us was going to be reborn again in the last days. And I put a clip down there of an email address where you can actually learn over the computer now from a teacher, one of the best teachers in Israel, to teach you how to speak Hebrew. Here's the bottom line. The prophecy has been fulfilled, and it has been fulfilled in a time where all the rest of the prophecies have been fulfilled. And this is what Jesus told us: when you shall see all these things, know that it's near, even at the door. Believe me, folks, it is near. And I'm excited because we're going to see Jesus Christ soon. There's no doubt about that.